Well, good Wednesday morning, everyone. We are finishing up just the last couple days of our reading of Tarot of Ceremonial Magic, and we've got all the way to the appendices at the end. But the appendices are a pretty big section of the book, and a lot of it we can comment on, and a lot of it is just charts and graphs and stuff. But hopefully, it'll be interesting to you anyway. The subtitle of the book is a pictorial synthesis of three great pillars of magic: astrology, Enochian magic, and Goetia, by Lon Milo DuQuette. And in the cards themselves, that's the promotional card on the inside, it boldly states the key that unlocks the secrets of all tarot decks. And in a way, it really does. Because all the information that's plainly printed on the cards themselves are also suggested and are also hiding invisibly upon anybody's tarot deck, no matter who designed the deck. If it's a 78 card deck with 22 trumps and 56 small cards, then there you go. So the four great pillars we're talking about are astrology, and we know that each of the cards of the lesser arcana have astrological information that they represent, and 12 of the trumps have astrological represent signs of the zodiac. Enochian magic, and that information is on there. This is the Ace of Wands, so this is the elemental tablet of fire, and also the ruling square off of the great ruling tablet of union. Now there's other information. We've got tattva symbols, so you can astrally project into it, and there is the Enochian symbol for this elemental tablet right there. And of course the court cards. This would be the fire quadrant of that big tablet. And Goetia. And for that, let's look at the small cards. And as we know, 36 of the small cards have a pair of Goetic spirits, the spirits you whip up with Solomonic magic. We've also thrown in the Kabbalistic angels, the Shemhamferish. There's the astrological. So, even though it may seem like we're bragging that a whole lot of information, magical information, is on these cards, we're not bragging at all. It's just a fact. And we've gotten ourselves, we've discussed each of the cards in the last month or so of our reading here. And now, how would you actually go about using these cards? A lot of that suggestions we've already talked about in the rest of the text. But here are, in the appendices, are specific information. Appendix 1 is just the astrological information. What cards rule what zodiac signs or decans of zodiac signs. In the newest edition of the cards, the Tarot Ceremonial Magic cards from next millennium, or Magical Omaha if you've ordered them in pre-order, On the inside of the box itself is all of that information. So if you were born between January 10th and February 8th, you're a Prince of Swords. And there's 3 small cards that live inside. So that's astrological information. Figure 9, that's that table, shows the rulership of the knights, queens, and princes over the small cards. The small cards each represent 10 degrees, or 1 decan of the zodiac, and the knights, queens, and princes rule from 20 degrees of one sign to 20 degrees of the next. We've already talked about that. I'm going to, so you can see the top of my head. In any given year, these days may vary considerably among the table below. Well, not considerably, but when choosing a significator or when dealing with time periods on or near the cusps of the following degrees and dates, please consult an ephemeris or an astrological calendar. And then I give all of that information that's on the inside of the box on these tables right there. I know you don't want me to read those tables. Okay, let's move to Appendix 2. Rituals of the Pentagram and Hexagram. Now, why do I put the rituals? Okay, in dealing with the lesser arcana, fire, water, air, earth, wands, cups, swords, and discs, we're dealing with the elemental in-your-face world around us. In traditional Western magic, that in-your-face microcosm of the elements is ruled, is held together, is subtly separated by the power of the pentagram. The pentagram rules the microcosm. So when opening up temples, like we discussed in the small cards, and invoking or banishing specific angels or spirits inherent in the cards, you would utilize, in one capacity or another, the pentagrams. And there's a banishing and an invoking pentagram for fire, water, air, and earth. And there is a banishing and an invoking pentagram for spirit active, the push, and spirit passive, the pull. Now, the hexagram ritual does the same thing with a hexagram that the pentagram does with the pentagram ritual does with the pentagram. But instead of the elements we're dealing with, the hexagram ritual deals with the planetary spheres, the sun and 6 planets. Now, if you remember when you were a fledgling magician, you were probably encouraged to memorize and start practicing the pentagram ritual. And at first you think, oh, I'm doing this to protect myself against, scary things. Well, go ahead and think that. It doesn't hurt anything. But what you're really doing is getting it firmly implanted in your mind that you are a magician standing on the surface of the planet. Where the sun comes up, seemingly, the sun's hot at noon, sun goes down at night, seemingly, and is totally dark at night. So, in a sense, what you're saying is, I'm trying to gain mastery over what I observe to be obvious reality. And that's a good thing. And the pentagram ritual helps you locate yourself in that apparent reality. Now, we all know that the Earth goes around and the sun doesn't go up and down or everything. Hey, but it doesn't look that way, does it? So we need to at least pretend we know who we are on that microcosmic level. So we use the Pentagram Ritual to gain confidence and mastery over the 4 directions, over the 4 elements, and there's a whole hierarchy of angels and archangels that go with that to help us firmly pretend we know where we are on the earth, on the surface, for all intent and purposes on a flat earth. Now we know that's not true, but most everyone in the world who's not a magician aren't even pretending they know where they are. And the Pentagram Ritual helps the magician take the first step in pretending they know where they are. The Hexagram Ritual comes next. If you're a fledgling magician, the next thing you learn and master is the Hexagram Ritual. And to do that, you have to expand your consciousness from knowing where you are on a flat earth or on the surface of the earth and realize where you are in the solar system. Pentagram Ritual, you're a magician standing on the surface of the earth. But in a Hexagram Ritual, you have to expand your consciousness to identify yourself as the sun. It's a big thing to do that. It's a dimensional shift. So you learn the Hexagram Ritual. Practical magic, when dealing with elements, you use the pentagram. Practical magic in dealing with the planetary spheres, you use the hexagram. So I've included the rituals of the pentagram and the hexagram in appendix number 2. Sorry for that long digression. Prior to any magical operation, it's wise to ceremonially banish the working area. This can be as simple or as elaborate as the magician sees fit. I've included below a version of the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram and encourage anyone intending to do Enochian or Goetic magic never to omit its performance both before and after working. Following the pentagram ritual, I've also included a version of the ritual of the hexagram. The hexagram operates on a macrocosmic or planetary plane in the same way the pentagram operates on a microcosmic elemental plane. If it is your intention to invoke any of the planetary seniors of the elemental tablets, it's necessary to perform the invoking ritual of the seniors planet by means of the invoking ritual of the hexagram. This is done after the lesser ritual of the pentagram, but before the temple opening. That's my practical advice there. Then I give a version of the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. And you needn't feel obliged to slavishly imitate this particular banishing ritual of the pentagram. But you do have to understand what it is it's trying to do. And whatever banishing or invoking ritual of the pentagram that you end up doing, it's going to have to accomplish the same thing. So at first, you do memorize other people's or traditional rituals. Then I go on to give the example of the hexagram ritual. How much time we have? Geez, I did digress. I'm sorry. Appendix number 3, the temple openings and the Enochian calls, elemental. I encourage the reader before embarking upon Enochian magic to first outline a simple program of elemental workings, perhaps dedicating several months to the exploration of one elemental tablet, or working exclusively with the seniors. There's 7 seniors on each tablet. Keep detailed notes of all your operations and try not to be influenced by experiences of other magicians. I'm going to say that real loud. Try not to be influenced by the experiences of other magicians. Crowley has fabulous literature concerning the Enochian system, and it's great. But please don't feel that you must program yourself to how that magic affected any other magician. This is your show. It's your show alone. Okay. Enochian magic is not performed by surrendering to the guided imagery of another magician's visions. I'm very disappointed at recent attempts, and recent was 1993 or whenever it was I wrote this. I'm very disappointed at recent attempts to establish an Enochian orthodoxy which presumes to dictate to the reader what he or she should see in their visions. I'm really happy to say that Enochian literature in this day and age has come so far and is so excellent compared to this thing that I'm referring to here. But anyway, an English translation of the Enochian calls follows each call. However, in my opinion, the calls should be intoned in the Enochian language. And it's my firm contention that the spirits who went to the great effort to dictate the Enochian language to Dee and Kelly did not do so just to hear themselves talk, and that the efficacy of the operation hinges on the vibrations established by the sounds of the Enochian words. It has been my experience that the Enochian spirits respond to nearly any effort to pronounce the language. Some of the most remarkable scrying sessions I've ever participated in have followed what I consider to be horribly butchered renditions of the Enochian calls. So give yourself a break. These guys don't care if you talk with a thick accent. They're just freaking happy you're making the attempt. That was a digression, sorry. The Golden Dawn developed a pronunciation technique whereby the next following Hebrew vowel sound was inserted after every Enochian consonant. Example, ah after D, da, daleth. After B, be, A after P. The calls, as they appear in the Golden Dawn material and in Crowley's classic Liber Chanokh, use this style. While this form of pronunciation is not ineffective, one need only turn to the original D material as it appears in, say, A True and Faithful Relation, to see that the communicating angels gave no such pronunciation advice. On the contrary, D's notes indicate that the words are to be sounded out pretty much as they are written. Now, when it comes to pronouncing each letter, when the letters of the angelic script are pronounced, not the words, the individual letters, when they're called out and you're obliged to refer to the Enochian letters, they do give a pronunciation for those letters. Like the Enochian or the angelic letter B is pronounced pa. Okay, but you put a B within an Enochian word and it's still Sounded like B. B. The versions of the calls as they appear below are a letter-for-letter translation of the cards as calls as they were dictated to Dee and Kelly, and do not presume to offer any theoretical pronunciation. After the magician banishes, opens the temple, and intones the appropriate call or calls, all that remains is to invoke the individual spirit. To properly do this, the names of all the members of the ruling hierarchy, Enochian hierarchy, must be called out. The lower the spirit is on the hierarchical scale, the more superiors it has. The temple openings, as written below, invoke the top of the hierarchy. So within the invoking script itself, the top of the hierarchy is also included in that text. So the opening temples, as written below, invoke the top of the hierarchy. It's very handy. 3 holy names of God, the great elemental king of the tablet. After specific temple opening, it is not necessary to repeat these names in subsequent conjurations. Now, if you don't use those temple openings, you gotta use them. For the spirit of the tablet of union, only the name of the spirit is invoked. Only the name of the spirit invoked is required in the conjuration. For a senior from the elemental tablet, only the name of the senior is invoked. Senior invoked is required in the conjuration. For a cherubic angel from a subangle of the elemental tablet, the names of all 6 seniors and the 2 divine names of the Calvary cross of the subangle are all required in the conjuration. See, the lower on the scale, the more guys you got to get into the act. For a lesser angel of the subangle of the elemental tablet, the names of all 6 seniors, the 2 divine names of the Calvary cross of the subangle, and the name of the cherub angel are all required in the conjuration. A brief conjuration below has been adapted from Aleister Crowley's Enochian translation of the first conjuration of the Goetia, the book, the Goetia. And translated, he would say, I invoke and I move thee, O Spirit, whatever. And being exalted above ye in the power of the Most High, I say unto thee, obey, in the name of, and then start naming off the hierarchy, in the name of this, in the name of that, in the name of that, in the name of that. I do invoke, and by invoking conjure thee, O thou Spirit, whatever. Old venu od zakam ilsge, whatever. Od lansvorji iad. Gohus pujo ils darbs. Da oyap, whatever. Od, whatever. Od, whatever. Old venu od zakam ilsge, whoever. Then I give the temple openings, and they're classic temple openings, complete with all the actions you take, the signs you make, the pentagrams you draw, the thing you say, the call itself. Okay, and I do that for all 19 of the calls. And that 19th call is used to penetrate 30 heavens or Enochian aethers. And I've given all the governors, the names of the aethers, so you could do that. Then I've included more clear illustrations. There's the Tablet of Union, Elemental Tablet of Fire. And you can use these, copy these, and actually color them yourself. The coloring code is there. Water, air. And earth. So that's the elemental tablet of earth. That would be, let's see here if I can find it. That would be the earth, or the ace of discs. So that tablet right there, elemental tablet of earth, is right there. Okay. I've really made a mess of my desk. Tomorrow, we'll read the appendix about Goetic evocation. And you might like that. Anyway, that's it for today. I must announce that I believe starting on Saturday, because we still have a couple days left on this book, starting Saturday, this is the Russian because my other copy is upstairs, and this is the only one I could find down here. I was in a hurry. This is the Magic of Aleister Crowley, the Handbook of the Rituals of Thelema. This is the Russian translation. I've got a Portuguese and Polish, and it's a well-translated book. I won't be reading it in Russian, though, but for all my Russian friends, there's the publisher. Anyway, it is actually the first book that I ever published with Weiser. So I started the material of what would eventually be that book maybe in 1989 and I worked on it a long time. So it was a very, very young Babalan writing that book. And I'm sure there'll be many, many digressions once I start revisiting where my head was at 35 years ago. Anyway, but I'm going to do it because I just have to be with you every morning. I need it. Anyway, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under well.